Yato was an ugly, disgusting minor god with big dreams of becoming a well-known and revered deity. To achieve this, he took on odd jobs for a small fee, ranging from solving everyday problems to battling malevolent spirits in different realms. Before you all feel pity for him, let me clap your cheeks and show you how he's still living a far better life than all of you. One day, Yato received a job offer to destroy a wicked phantom spirit tormenting a girl at school. Yato, accompanied by his regalia Tamon, arrived at the location and confronted the phantom. Tamon transformed into a dagger, enabling Yato to fight the evil phantom, and with Tamon's help he effortlessly vanquished the malevolent spirit. Nevertheless, given that Yato didn't possess a single shrine dedicated to him, Tamon has had enough and no longer wished to serve as his regalia, resigning from her job like I did before becoming homeless. As Yato watched her leave, he pledged to amass countless worshippers and become the best god among gods. However, he knew that his abilities were contingent on having a regalia, and without Tamon he is fucked up, so he had to find a new one as soon as possible. In the meanwhile, he got a job offer to find a missing cat. Yato began to search for the cat and put posters all over the city. After some time, he encountered the cat on the street and rushed to get it without realizing the dangers of truck cunt. However, a young girl named Hiyori jumped in to save Yato and started scolding him for his lack of awareness. Hiyori soon realized that her body was lying on the street surrounded by a throng of onlookers, leading her to lose consciousness. She subsequently opened her eyes in her father's hospital room, surrounded by her parents and friends who all were worried for her. Hiyori survived the accident with minor abrasions and all of her scans appeared to be normal. When she questioned about the guy on the street, it appeared that none of her friends recollected seeing any guy near Hiyori. The last thing her friends remembered was Hiyori running off to save the cat. She wondered if what she saw was real or not, but somehow deep inside Hiyori was convinced that the man was indeed real. Later that night, she woke up and found Yato creeping under the blanket, trying to explore her floodgates, which freaked the shit out of her. Yato thanked her for saving him in the morning. However, he insisted that he didn't need any help because he is a god. He began to tell her about how soon he would be known far and wide in all the realms. Hiyori didn't believe the ugly loser at all and prepared to call the police. Yato stopped her and grabbed some fruit before jumping out of the window like a Giga Chad. A few days passed and Hiyori continued attending school, yet she experienced occasional dizziness. Her mind struggled to comprehend what's real and what's not. That cat was the only way to meet Yato again, so after school, she went out to find it. On the other side, Yato had once again tracked down the cat, but it seemed frightened and came running towards him. Something must have scared the little furball. Yato began to hear strange noises and found himself surrounded by tiny monsters who wanted to eat the cat. He managed to escape from them, but on the way to town came across a giant frog phantom. Yato put the cat under his sweater and began to fight the monster, landing a powerful kick that barely did anything to the phantom and made him realize it wasn't cannon fodder like his previous enemies. When he tried to throw a final blow, Yato realized that his regalia had quit, so he couldn't use his final move. Luckily, before the phantom could isekai Yato, Hiyori appeared out of nowhere and grabbed his hand. The two of them started running as the phantom continued to tail them. It then grabbed Hiyori's leg, so she rushed to kick it with great strength and free herself. Her strength amazed Yato, but soon, the phantom got on its feet and attacked Hiyori. However, Yato saved her and jumped over entire buildings while trying to get out from there. After some time, they lost the phantom, and Hiyori wanted some answers. Before she could question anything, Yato pointed to her tail, mentioning her soul had slipped out. He then showed Hiyori her body and brought it down. Hiyori started freaking out and wanted to know if she was dead. He assured her that she was very much alive, only her soul sometimes gets separated from her body, leaving her in a phantom-like state. Before Hiyori could understand anything more, she began to feel lightheaded and her soul went back into her body. After which Yato rang the doorbell and left the cat on the doorstep of its owner, walking away while carrying Hiyori on his back. As soon as she woke up, Hiyori shouted at him, calling him a pervert, reminding us that men will always be treated like shit.
Emotional, damn it!
She wondered where her tail had gone and questioned Yato about her current state. He thought that due to the accident, her soul now exists between this world and the afterlife. She is alive, but her soul could also move like other phantoms. He further added that from now on Hiyori would be losing her body occasionally, and she had to get used to it. Hiyori didn't want to live like that and told Yato to fix her immediately. He agreed to help her, but only after she get on her knees and give him. Sorry, I meant only if she would get on her knees and give him some money as an offering. Yeah, that's definitely what I meant. At first, Hiyori mistakenly thought that the ugly loser was asking for 500,000 yen. But in reality, the poor lad only wanted 5 yen for the job. She right away gave him the amount and he promised to fix her in a few days. A few days had passed since then with no sign of Yato. In the meanwhile, Hiyori began to see different phantoms all around her. But time after time, her soul leaving her body was still a big problem. Thankfully, her friends carried her body whenever she passed out, and everyone thought her condition was likely due to that accident. Hiyori realized there were many phantoms in the world, and they came in different shapes and sizes.
What do you mean by that?
Only animals and small children were the ones capable of seeing these beings. Hiyori noticed a dark aura in the city to which phantoms were drawn. Once it possessed the phantoms, they lost control of themselves and become part of the dark aura. She then called Yato, who hadn't shown his disgusting face for the last few weeks. He promised Hiyori to turn her back to normal, but instead got busy with odd jobs. Yato then came to meet her, warning of an upcoming danger. As a living phantom stuck between this world and the afterlife, Hiyori is an easy target for other phantoms. If they manage to corrupt her soul, then she would lose her identity and cross the line that shouldn't be crossed. Since Yato didn't have his regalia at the moment, he wouldn't be able to help her. When Hiyori learned that regalias are spirits who serve as weapons for gods, she decided to find one by herself. She went around and encountered several phantoms, but so far, no one wanted to be a regalia for Yato. Later at night, after cleaning someone's bathroom for 5 yen and a can of beer, Yato laid down to sleep. Soon after, he got a call from Hiyori, who informed him of encountering a regalia. Yato teleported to her faster than Goku and realized that the regalia she was talking about is a mindless, emotionless cursed phantom who wants to eat them. They both started running faster than Usain Bolt on steroids, and Hiyori noticed that she had lost her body once again. The phantom began attacking them and almost ate Hiyori, but she managed to dodge it. She realized that in her spirit form she could fight pretty well. Hiyori, being cocky, lured the phantom towards her, and as it attacked her she jumped off to land a powerful kick. To her astonishment, Yato grabbed her by the tail and pulled her, getting his arm bitten by the phantom in the process. He released his arm from the monster's strong hold and along with Hiyori reached somewhere safe. After ensuring they had lost the phantom, they took a moment of relief. Hiyori noticed Yato's hand was badly injured and got worried for him. She was about to touch it before Yato stopped her. He explained that the injury is like a virus and if not cleansed, it can infect other spirits and eat away at them. He further stated that her tail is linked to her physical body. If it gets cut off, then she won't be able to return to her body and her physical form will die, leaving her spirit wandering around. Their conversation was cut short when the phantom eventually found them. Once again the chase began and the phantom was right after their tails, even though only one of them actually had a tail. While running on the rooftops, Yato spotted the spirit of an innocent young boy at a distance and chose him as his new regalia. He enchanted a magical contract between him and the boy's spirit, and he transformed into a powerful long sword blade. For a brief moment, Yato could see all the life events of the spirit who had now become his regalia. Suddenly, out of nowhere, the phantom attacked Yato, engulfing him in front of Hiyori. She couldn't believe her eyes and shouted out Yato's name. Just when the phantom thought it was able to get the best McDonald's deal, suddenly it got cut into pieces, and Yato burst out, killing the monster right away. He then cleansed his wound with water, which also healed his hand. His blade then transformed into a blonde teenager, and Yato named his new regalia Yukine. He introduced himself as his master, and since it was cold outside, Yato offered his jacket to him. However, Yukine declined his offer due to his disgusting sweaty hands. A few days had passed. Yato along with Yukine began to wander around the city in search of more lucrative work and increase his number of followers. But so far, they were out of luck and had to sleep in abandoned shrines and find clothes and food in trash bins. Nevertheless, the call of their stomachs led them straight to Hiyori, who gladly took them to a nearby restaurant and promised to treat Yato if he would listen to her. The lying loser accepted her terms, and after devouring all the food as an offering, Yato got a call for a job. He once again tried to sneak away, but this time Hiyori's spirit had also gotten teleported along with Yato and Yukine, leaving her body behind at the restaurant. They arrived at a creepy place which soon turned into a beautiful shrine, and the god of learning Tenjin appeared in front of them. Both Yukine and Hiyori bowed down to Tenjin, leaving Yato heartbroken. Since Tenjin was a god, he also had beautiful regalias far more than Yato. Hiyori and Yukine couldn't stop praising Tenjin in front of Yato, which had started to irritate him. All he wanted was to be respected and worshipped, but all he got is a snarky remark about how he's pretty useless like each and every one of you. Furiously, he questioned Tenjin of a reason for summoning him. The god of learning explained that due to the exam season he was a bit busy and wanted Yato to deal with some troubling phantoms for him. For his services, Tenjin was ready to pay him. Being already out of a job, Yato accepted the proposal, and with that, Tenjin's pipe transformed into a regalia named Mayu, who was none other than Yato's ex-regalia Tamon. The ugly bitch turned out to be a gold digger and joined Tenjin because he was rich. After roasting the shit out of Yato in front of Hiyori and Yukine for his lack of worshippers, she later told them about their job. A few days ago, Tamon received a weird wish plaque of a student about the purification of a railway track. Some evil phantoms had clung to people there, making them kill themselves. Tenjin had previously purified the place and put up a barrier, but the phantoms were deeply rooted in their victims, making the barrier useless. Even though Tenjin had already paid Yato in advance, he thought it was a useless job and wasn't for his standards. Yato believed that if someone wanted to die, then there was no point in saving them cowards as they had already lost their motive to live. Hiyori instead called him a coward and went by herself to free the place from phantoms. She kicked one of the phantoms from a guy's shoulder, releasing him from the possession. However, within seconds, hundreds of phantoms surrounded her, wanting to take control over her soul. Thankfully, Yato arrived there with Yukine on a train and started killing the phantoms. He told Hiyori to take care of her furry tail or else she would be dead by now. They soon noticed a giant hand-shaped phantom on the track which was about to kill a young student who got an F on an exam. Yato jumped off the train, and with Yukine as a blade, easily cut the giant phantom hand, freeing the student from the possession. Later, Hiyori questioned him about why he had opted to return if he didn't believe in saving people who already wanted to die. Yato told her that life is a precious gift, one that should be cherished regardless of the hardships it presents. People who had committed suicide are left to wander around the world and couldn't even become a regalia, as regalias are spirits who had wanted to live but died unfortunately, and people dying in front of him is something he couldn't stand. As night fell, Yato and Yukine got into an abandoned shrine to sleep. Yato began to dream about millions of worshippers and having a group of regalias ready to serve him 24/7. As Yato enjoyed his dream and Yukine got pissed off, someone was watching them from a distance. The next day, Hiyori brought food for them, and while eating, Yukine and Hiyori made fun of Yato daydreaming of a shrine and followers. Their words hurt him like arrows, and Yato showed them some objects which he thought would help fulfill his dreams. The two of them got angry because of Yato's habit of spending money on useless things and getting scammed by some lady on the street. Decide this sounded like a stupid get-rich-quick scheme, and together they started breaking the objects, leaving Yato devastated. He then started acting like a god and took Hiyori and Yukine to meet his girlfriend.
What the
Yes, you heard it right. Unlike all of you, all this time Yato had a totally real girlfriend named Kafuku, who was also a goddess. As soon as they arrived at Kafuku's house, Yato got knocked down by her overprotective regalia, Daikoku. After beating the crap out of Yato, Daikoku introduced himself. The group realized the goddess was nothing like people depicted her. She was the friendliest and cutest goddess they had encountered so far. After some time, Yato got a job offer to save someone from committing suicide. When he reached the place, he mistakenly landed on top of the guy, sending him hurtling off the building. As the guy began to fall, Yato and the others rushed to help him. Yato asked him the reason for suicide, and he told him about a girl whom he had encountered last winter. At first, he thought she was a runaway, but the more he learned about her, the more he began to like her. As days went by, the two of them got closer, but all of their dates seemed to suffer some bad luck. Even his performance at the office plummeted like cryptocurrency, and soon he was out of money and became jobless. Yato started to suspect that something is off and asked the guy about the girl's photo. He then showed Yato a photo of his girl who was none other than Kafuku. Yato told him that Kafuku is a goddess of poverty, and if he didn't stop seeing her, then his luck would be gone. But the guy didn't believe him like any usual simp would do, bringing more fame to the simp community. They had been in freefall for what seemed like an eternity, and to terminate their descent and change the scene, Yato punched the simp, jolting him back to his senses. He then summoned Yukine and cut all of his ties with Kafuku, freeing the simp from bad luck. The man landed safely. His recollection of ever encountering Kafuku was wiped clean by Yato. Yato then went to Kafuku and received 5 yen as his payment from Daikoku. As the group decided to return, Hiyori stayed behind for a few minutes with Kafuku and learned about Yato's dark past. Since Yato was a minor god, to get recognized he did everything the humans wished for, even to the extent of taking human lives. This revelation drastically altered Hiyori's perception of Yato, whom she had always regarded as goofy and a nutcase. Hiyori rejoined Yato, and he instructed her that if anything happens to him then she should go straight to Kafuku. After some time, Yukine encountered a girl covered in tattoos. Yato immediately recognized her, for she was once his regalia. The girl insisted Yato to address her by the name he had bestowed upon her, a request he declined. After which the girl left, and it became apparent that Yato harbored numerous undisclosed secrets hidden from Yukine and Hiyori. In a bid to safeguard Yukine, Yato taught him a special defensive move against phantoms and other regalias. Yukine then formed a protection barrier so powerful that even Yato himself was taken aback by its effectiveness. However, to keep Yukine away from Yato and his troubles, Hiyori decided to take him to her home. Yukine was blown away by Hiyori's big house and luxurious lifestyle, all of which seemed like a dream to him. Soon, Yato also sneaked into Hiyori's home by following her parents. He told her that shrines were sacred and served as a protected place against phantom attacks, which her house lacks, and Yukine also had a fear of darkness. The next day, while shopping with Hiyori, Yukine picked up a skateboard without paying. His action provoked Hiyori so much that she tells him that he's a filthy dog and that he should have stayed dead. After getting his ass whooped by Hiyori, Yukine stormed out of the store in a fit of anger. As it's about to get dark, Hiyori, accompanied by Yato, began to search for Yukine all over the city. After realizing his mistake, Yukine decided to ask forgiveness from Hiyori, and on his way to her home encountered a little girl crying on the street. The girl had an accident a few days ago on the same street, and ever since her spirit had been waiting for her mom. In an effort to console her, Yukine opted to stay by her side but told her that her mom wouldn't be coming for her. This saddened the little girl, making her cry and run into the darkness. She soon got surrounded by a group of phantoms, and Yukine ran after her, but his fear of darkness overcame him. Eventually, Hiyori also arrived there and told him to use the barrier attack that Yato taught earlier. Yukine finally overcame his fear and got into the darkness and formed a barrier around the girl, protecting her from the phantoms. But he soon realized that the phantoms had already corrupted the soul of the little girl, and now she was one of them. Yukine's barrier began to get weak, and soon the phantoms crossed it. The phantoms combined themselves into one ugly motherfucking phantom, and began to charge towards Yukine and Hiyori. But before they could devour them, Yato arrived there, saving both of them. Yukine asked Yato to help the little girl, and he attacked the phantom, slicing one of its arms. Since the little girl was completely possessed by the phantom, finishing her soul is the only way to save her from eternal suffering. As the phantom began to attack Yato, Yukine sensed the presence of the little girl, telling him to free her from the suffering. Together, Yato and Yukine used a powerful attack and sliced the phantom in half, killing it instantly, even though they managed to free the little girl's soul. But after that incident, Yukine started to get paranoid. He ran from Hiyori's home and to distract himself stole a skateboard. Somewhere, Yato sensed Yukine's wicked act and confronted him. However, their conversation got interrupted by a mysterious woman on the lion, who turned out to be the most powerful goddess of war known as Bishamon. A few years ago, Yato accidentally killed one of her regalia, and from that moment, she held a grudge against Yato and wanted to kill him and his newfound regalia. As Bishamon began to attack them, Yato dodged all of her attacks, also saving Yukine. Since Bishamon didn't know that Hiyori could see Yato and the other gods, so he told her to stay still and lured Bishamon away from her. She went on a hot pursuit after Yato and eventually found him in the city. The two gods started fighting with everything they had. Bishamon came out in rage. Her strength and powerful blows were too much for Yato. She managed to grab Yato's leg and used one of her regalia to shoot the disgusting god down. However, Yato used Yukine to cut the bullets and free himself. Somehow Yato once again slipped right through Bishamon's hands and ran from there. Meanwhile, Hiyori arrived at Kafuku's place, begging her to help Yato. However, she told her no one would want to help an ugly, disgusting, sweaty god like Yato. But for the time being she agreed to help him, and before Bishamon could kill Yato, Kafuku arrived there.
Come to me, Koki!
She used her final move and opened a vent, bringing out phantoms from the underworld. This stopped both the gods in the middle, but one of Bishamon's regalia in the form of a lion, Kiraha, managed to bite Yato. Suddenly, the same mysterious girl with tattoos arrived there and used her powers to restrain Kiraha, giving Yato enough time to attack him and free himself. Bishamon was furious but realized that for the time being, she had to retreat. Yato, along with Hiyori and the others, was also able to escape from there. The next day, Yukine continued to be an oddball and went to Tenjin's shrine to become his regalia, but he politely refused Yukine's offer. Later, when Hiyori arrived at Tenjin's shrine, he told her about the mysterious girl with tattoos all over her body whose name is Nora. In the gods' world, a regalia with many masters is called Nora, and that's why the girl they saw had tattoos of many gods and goddesses on her body. Later, while searching for Yukine, Hiyori bumped into Bishamon, but her regalia Kazuma helped her by using an invisible barrier, stopping Bishamon and others from realizing her presence. After Bishamon left, Kazuma told Hiyori about Yato's suffering from Yukine's actions, and if he wouldn't get rid of him soon then he would die. Yukine continued to be an asshole like my siblings and didn't want to understand that he can't do whatever he wanted. Enraged, he began to smash the windows of a classroom, causing Yato to pass out. The blighted virus began spreading all over Yato's body, and while trying to help him, Hiyori also got infected by it. She still put Yato on her back and brought him to Kafuku's place. However, Daikoku formed a barrier, stopping Yato and Yukine from entering the house. It was only after Hiyori's continuous begging that he allowed Hiyori to enter. Kafuku then cleansed Hiyori's blight, while Daikoku prepared for a ritual to expel Yato's blight. Yato had been suffering for a long time, and this time they couldn't cleanse him with just water. They needed to perform a ritual that could only be executed by 3 regalias. To find the other 2 regalias, Daikoku visited all the nearby shrines. However, none of the gods wanted to help a disgusting god like Yato because of his shady past. It was only Tenjin who lent his regalia Mayu for the ritual. The group still lacked 1 regalia, so Hiyori went to Bishamon but was stopped by Kazuma, who came back along with her. The 3 regalias began to perform the ritual, which revealed that Yukine was infected by a phantom. As the ritual continued, Yukine's face began to transform demonically, but still it was far better looking than my ex. His greed for money and wicked acts made the phantom stick to him, and his only way out of this mess was to confess his sins. As the phantom began to take over his mind, Yukine went berserk, and his soul began to cross to the other side. At the same time, Yato opened his eyes, reminding Yukine of who he was and the bond they shared together. Yukine began to cry, finally confessed his sins, and the phantom started fading away. The next day, to atone for what he had done, Yukine started working with Daikoku. He later asked Hiyori to teach him after her school, as he also wanted to continue his studies. Later, Yato along with Yukine and Hiyori went to thank Tenjin for the other day, and asked him about Hiyori's condition. Tenjin advised Yato to cut his ties with her, as this was the only way for her to live a normal and happy life. The more she was connected to him, the more she was being pulled into their world. One day after returning from school, Hiyori learned from her friends about an urban legend of Rabu, a god so powerful that he could take out anyone you wished for. Even other gods were not safe from him. This amazed Hiyori, but she still considers it nothing more than an urban myth. Later at night, Hiyori received a message from her friends inviting her for a New Year's shrine visit. Hiyori then invited Yato and Yukine, who were as usual busy with odd jobs but promised to join her later. After making a wish for her friendship to continue with Yukine and Yato, she saw Yato nearby, and her spirit ran after him as her body passed out once again. On the other side, Yato and Yukine, when coming to the shrine, got an unexpected job offer to kill some phantoms, which was a trap set by Nora. Through this, she kept Yato and Yukine busy with the phantoms. Meanwhile, Hiyori came across an empty street and encountered Nora, who was suspiciously unhappy. She unleashed her spirit hounds on Hiyori, who climbed on a pole and somehow managed to escape from there. The spirit hounds continued chasing her, and Hiyori soon found herself surrounded and outnumbered by them. Just when they were about to isekai her into a fantasy world, the sun rose, killing the spirit hounds instantly. But by then, Nora had also arrived there and warned Hiyori about the arrival of Rabu before erasing her memories. Later, when Yato and Yukine came to see Hiyori, she seemed a bit off. She greeted Yukine as usual, but couldn't remember Yato and seemed to have forgotten only him. Yato tried to make her remember him, and took Hiyori to the street where they first encountered each other. But all of his efforts went to waste as Hiyori couldn't remember him anymore. Yato decided to draw a picture show of their memories for Hiyori, hoping this would spark some lost memories in her. Later that night, as they were returning, Yato encountered Nora, who showed him Hiyori's stolen memories. He realized that Nora was the one behind Hiyori's current state, and then she showed him a mark of the god of calamity, Rabu. Before Yato could do anything, Rabu arrived and attacked him. It turned out Rabu and Yato were once good friends, and both were gods of calamity. They both had slain hundreds of people and shared a dark past. Yato summoned his blade, and even though he was overwhelmed by the first few moves, he quickly dodged Rabu's attacks and then threw a powerful counterattack. However, he soon realized that Rabu is much more powerful than the last time they met, so he tried to get away from him. As Yato struggled to fight him, he lured Rabu straight into a trap. He jumped up and used his superior mobility to swiftly cut right through Rabu, only to find out that it was one of his clones. Rabu then attacked Yato from above, which he blocked with his remaining strength. Rabu appeared to be too powerful for Yato, as he easily threw him. Despite getting knocked down, Yato got up again but saw his blade was in rough shape, meaning Yukine had been pushed way beyond his capabilities. Rabu, instead of killing Yato on the spot, left with a challenge to beat him at his forgotten shrine in exchange for Hiyori's memories. Back at Kafuku's place, they talked about Rabu. He was once a human who spied for his master, but to keep it a secret, his master killed him. Due to the curses of the people he spied upon, he got reborn as a god of calamity who fulfilled evil wishes. Hiyori's condition continued to remain the same. She noticed a drawing of her with Yato and Yukine but failed to remember him. Yukine then brought Yato's picture book in an effort to make Hiyori remember him. He showed her the events they lived through together, but she still didn't remember Yato. By this time, she even began to forget Yukine, which made him sad and he ran away. Meanwhile, Yato encountered Nora, who warned him that if he didn't accept Rabu's challenge, then Hiyori would forget everything. Even though they had a slim chance, Yato and Yukine decided to bring back Hiyori's memories. Before their departure, they came to meet Hiyori one last time, who somehow began to cry. As Yato and Yukine were about to teleport, Hiyori's spirit left her body and grabbed Yato, making her also teleport with them. They arrived at an abandoned shrine where Rabu awaited them. After the initial shock, Yato told Hiyori to get away from there as this is not a safe place for her. He then called Yukine and attacked Rabu. Both the gods started attacking each other with everything they had. Yato managed to corner Rabu and launched forward to rip his chest off but got blown away by Rabu's fury attack. He then countered him with his magical attack, trapping Yato in a ball of water. He tried to free himself from the trap but began to pass out. His disgusting divine ass got saved only when Hiyori pulled him from outside, freeing him from his impending doom. Rabu noticed that Hiyori is Yato's weakness and decided to eliminate her. However, Yato got in his way and took Hiyori away from there. He made sure Hiyori didn't get hurt, so he hid her and started making a plan. Eventually, Rabu found them and showed Yato Hiyori's memories. To lure Yato into his trap, Rabu threw the memory ball into nearby water, and before Yato could grab it, Rabu used a magical energy attack and swiftly cut Hiyori's memories into pieces. Yato realized that Hiyori was not waking up, so he lifted her and put her on the side. He saw an injury on her hand and immediately took off his scarf, wrapping it around her hand. He then summoned Yukine, and without even moving an inch, cut Rabu, which is then followed by a kick so powerful that could give even Ronaldo some nightmares. Rabu started laughing as he finally awakened Yato's true form. He began to attack Yato, but his moves were no match for him and Yato almost killed him. He only stopped because he was nothing like his past self. Seeing that he was defeated, Rabu summoned all the dark aura and merged with the phantoms. He lunged towards Yato, this time matching him equally. Rabu then intentionally launched a projectile attack towards Hiyori, who was lying down unconsciously. Yato jumped towards her and managed to save her. Hiyori's body came back to life as she hugged Yato, remembering his smell, which made her break free from Nora's spell. Realizing that Hiyori now remembered everything, Yato tried to develop a plot with her, but ended up receiving a kick. Before they could resolve their issues, Rabu grabbed Hiyori and made her his hostage. The god of calamity tried to kill her using dark aura. However, Yato, with the help of Yukine, managed to cut Rabu's barrier and slice through him. The god of calamity let go of Hiyori as his back was blown out. Sorry, I meant he was fucked up beyond repair. Anyways, he still challenged Yato to a final fight, which he won easily like a boss with just one swift move. As soon as Rabu fell to the ground, his face began to crack, showing that he was long dead and was using dark aura to keep his physical form intact. The dying piece of shit cursed Yato that one day he would also suffer the same fate as him. On the other side, all the other gods sensed the death of Rabu as the storm passed away. After slaying his arch enemy, Yato told Hiyori to cut her ties with him because that was the only way for her to live a normal life. However, she refused to cut any ties with him and wished to develop a plot with him and leave with Yato forever, which he was ready to fulfill, but only for 5 yen. I guess sometimes old habits don't go away easily, even for a god like Yato.